Have you ever really stopped to think about how you measure your own success? It turns out there are two fundamentally different ways we can build our motivation. And one of them, well, it's a whole lot more stable than the other. So let's dig into the architecture of what really drives you.
Right? It's a super simple question on the surface, but the answer, it tells you so much about what's actually in your driver's seat. Is it your boss, your followers on social media, your parents, or is it someone else entirely?
Oh man, if your sense of accomplishment is tied to what other people think, you know this feeling deep in your bones. One day you're on top of the world because of some great feedback, and the very next, a single negative comment can just completely crush you. It's exhausting, and honestly, it's an incredibly fragile way to move through the world.
Now let's get one thing straight. Wanting feedback isn't some kind of weakness. It's totally human to look for signals from the outside to check if we're on the right track. But that very natural need, it can very easily become a trap. I mean, this stuff is hardwired into us. From an evolutionary point of view, getting approval from the tribe literally meant survival. Today, that instinct has just morphed into hunting for likes, 5-star reviews, and the next big promotion. It's a powerful, powerful force for sure, but it's not the only blueprint for motivation we have. So, this all brings us to these two totally different motivational blueprints. You can think of one as being built on the shifting sands of what everyone else thinks. And the other, well, that one's built on a solid foundation that you, and only you, control. And this just lays it all out so clearly. First, look at the source. External validation depends on things that are totally out of your hands, what other people think, the metrics, the awards. Internal motivation, though, is powered by your own standards. Then think about the focus. Are you obsessed with the final reaction you get, or are you focused on your own effort and your own growth along the way? That single difference leads directly to stability. One is a chaotic mess, and the other is consistent and controlled. So, when you really boil it down, external validation is basically outsourcing the job of feeling successful. Your sense of accomplishment is rented, not owned, and the landlord can kick you out at any moment. But on the flip side, internal motivation means you are the judge, the jury, the whole shebang. You're the one who sets the criteria for success. It's not about the applause. It's about knowing you met a standard that you defined for yourself. You own it 100%. And this is where we really see the problem with relying on that external fuel. It's like trying to build a skyscraper out of a deck of cards. Sure, it might look impressive for a second, but it is fundamentally, deeply unstable. You know what's wild? You can see how all of these dangers just feed into each other. When you're afraid of what people will think, you stop taking creative risks. That constant pressure to perform for others, it leads straight to anxiety and burnout. And at the heart of it all is that core problem. You've handed over the keys to your self-worth to a totally unpredictable audience. I mean, this visual just says it all, doesn't it? The externally driven path is this chaotic, jagged scribble of emotional highs and lows. Then you have the internally driven path. Now, it's not a perfectly flat line, of course not, life happens, but the overall trend is one of steady, controlled growth. Which one of those rides would you rather be on? Okay, so how do we get on that steadier path? The answer is by building and tuning your own internal benchmark. Think of it like your personal North Star for what actually matters. This is your personal rulebook, your private constitution. It's not about putting on headphones and ignoring the rest of the world, but it is about having your own rock-solid definition of good before anyone else gets a chance to weigh in. So in the real world, this creates a really simple but incredibly powerful feedback loop. First, you set your own bar. Second, you do the work. Third, and this is the absolute key, you measure your performance against your bar, not the internet's, not your boss's, yours. And from there, you learn, you adjust, and you go again. And when you start consistently operating from this internal playbook, day in and day out, you stop building that flimsy house of cards, and you start laying a foundation for something that can actually last. And the payoffs, oh, they are huge. You get to focus on the long haul, not just chasing short-term praise. Setbacks, they stop being these huge public failures and instead become just data points for you to improve. Your work feels so much more authentic because it's coming from your values. And ultimately, you get the incredible freedom to define success entirely on your own terms. This quote just nails the entire idea, doesn't it? The validation that actually matters, the kind that sticks with you, is the one you give yourself when you know, deep down, that you've met your own mark of excellence. Now, the big takeaway here isn't to just plug your ears and ignore the entire world. It's about consciously changing your primary source of fuel. It's about building a powerful engine for motivation inside yourself so you're no longer dependent on anyone else to keep you going. So, I want to leave you with a question to really chew on. Think about it. Not sales numbers, not follower counts, not promotions. What is one measure of progress or quality in your life that is completely 100% internal? Finding the answer to that, that's the first step to building a truly unshakable foundation.